Gonna rip off the second Hydro Cannon for some chip damage, and this time to come into Shadow Walrein. I can shield once, Powder Snow Farm all the way down. If Gengar thinks he's returning, my god, the opponent better know there's no baits on this channel. But the question is, does the opponent respect the damage? Welcome back to the home of Shadow Pokemon. We're back at it again with a team I used to run in the Ultra League. Triple Shadow, Triple Water. I'm sure we all know just how lethal Shadow Swampert is in both the Great and the Ultra League, so today we test it out in the Master League Premier Cup. Points to note, my Swampert is level 49, however I have got it Best Buddy equipped, so it is actually fully at level 50, and I am running Sludge Wave. That's for things like Dragonite, Golisipod, and of course the common Gyarados. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1 we need Shadow Swampert into Togekiss. You want to throw 1, 4, 7, or in my case 10. I fake the Sludge Wave. The opponent doesn't want to shield it up. However, if you are a Shadow Swampert, you want to go straight Hydro Cannon. 1 Sludge Wave doesn't knock out, however 2 do certainly get the job done. This time I do throw on alignment because I'm not sure I survive that charm. Swampert gets off the next Hydro Cannon. We did actually survive the charm, but it doesn't really matter as the mud shot that I could have got would have done absolutely nothing. I now come into the big fat walrus. I intend to shield once the opponent full sends the Aura Spear, then switch out into Excadrill and High Excadrill. We're going to lose CMP, so I throw 4, 1 before they reach the Rock Slide. Earthquake vanquishes them, back to their Pokeball, back out comes Togekiss. That gets Powder Snow Farm down and the opponent concedes the match. Moving on to the next one. We see Swampert into Gengar. The opponent clearly not a fan of Charm, or so you'd imagine. However, they say switch into Togekiss. I'm going to throw off the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon draws the Protect Shield, so I'm going to throw 1 more, looking to get some chip damage off on this Togekiss. I've got no idea why stupid Charm users love to double shield. This opponent again double shields. Holy crap. Then throw, after just 8 Charms, this is only an Ancient Power. So we tank that on the chin, saving 2 shields, and we pivot out into Walrein. I'm going to throw 7 Powder Snows for optimal fast move timing, and then fire off the Icicle Sphere. Icicle Sphere gets some super low. They switch out into Chandelure. Chandelure going to get outpaced. Earthquake going to be vanquishing Chandelure. Back to their Pokeball. Get absolutely wrecked. Back out comes Gengar, and Walrein now smelling blood, looking to sweep. I am going to shield this up, as I easily have enough health to make the Earthquake. You're going to notice here I do pause a turn in case the opponent's switch time was up. I don't think it was, but it is good practice. Making sure I throw in the middle of the Shadow Claw animation, and 1 Powder Snow takes care of Togekiss. My god, is Walrein looking like an absolute fucking monster. Moving on to the next one. Swampert into Excadrill, a dominant lead. The opponent save switches into Gyarados, and we don't really have a great response, so I choose to come in to the mirror. The opponent fires off the Crunch, we tank that. I just want to get myself shield advantage, as Walrein with shield advantage can also handle that mole. The opponent shields the Crunch. I'm not going to be able to make 1 more Crunch. I'm just going to throw the Aqua Tail, looking for some chip damage, getting this Gyarados into a range where I can Powder Snow farm it down. The opponent commits to the full Dragon Breath farm down. They're deep in the reds. This is a perfect amount of farm for Walrein. The opponent throws immediately. They could actually blind throw an Aqua Tail, and that's exactly what the opponent does. That's resisted. The opponent again gonna settle for an Aqua Tail. Walrein easily tanks 2 Aqua Tails. We do get the full Powder Snow farm down, and we leave with residual energy. I am worried they might have a dragon in the back, so I am going to shield up my Walrein. The opponent throws the drill run. We go for the wham bam combo play, looking to snipe or force the final shield. The opponent commits that final shield. They continue to stay in. We throw on CMP. Swampert easily survives a drill run. However, you, sir, will not be surviving this Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon going to be one-shot in the squishy Excadrill. The opponent's final Pokemon is their own Swampert. They are going to get a full Mud Shot farm down, but not before Swampert chips them with the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon lands for huge damage. Swampert dies just as we receive the energy for the next one. However, I can come in. The opponent can only full send if they bait me. They're going to get outpaced to the Earthquake. And Earthquake is going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. So what I meant by the opponent can only full send, the only win con for the opponent would have been them full sending the Earthquake or the Sludge Wave and me attempting to 1 shield flex. Getting back into the commentary, Swampert into Dragonite. Yikes, we pivot into our Dragon Tail. Double Legacy Shadow Gyarados, and the opponent answers with a Charm Togekiss. Things aren't looking fantastic. However, 2 Aqua Tails do get them into the red. Due to the opponent having Dragonite, which has access to Superpower, I can't come in Powder Snow Farm this thing down, as I would have to respect the potential Ancient Power or Aura Spear. The opponent blind throws the Ancient Power onto Swampert. We easily tank that. I then throw 7 Mud Shots and the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon will be one-shot, and we now need Walrein to sweep the back line. Walrein's been pretty good so far in this video. Can it pull off another incredible sweep? The opponent's got Golisipod in the back, and I want absolutely none of that, and I concede the match. Moving on to the next one. Swampert into Metagross, really dominant lead. I had a 75% win rate with this team. My elo wasn't the best after running some nonsense like Miss Magius for Calamonto's Spice compilation, and this team did return a really fantastic win rate, and that was mostly because how good a lead Swampert was. In this battle, the opponent safe switched a Mud Shot Garchomp. We do survive an outrage, so I obviously wasn't going to shield the first move. The opponent baited with the Earth Power, which did pretty much nothing. They shielded, I shielded, and we RPS for the win. Moving on to the next one. Another Gengar lead with a Charm safe switch. Where the heck have people got this team idea from? I've played MLP pretty much every single time it's available. I've never seen this. However, the opponent safe switch of a Gardevoir. We're going to look to get off some chip damage with the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon lands, and it's now time for their big fat walrus. We can come in, shield once, Powder Snow Farm all the way down. And then if Gengar thinks it's returning, in case the opponent don't know, they're about to find out there's no bait on this channel. But does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. Get absolutely wrecked. The opponent actually has double charm, and Walrein is out here feasting. You will notice again I threw at the correct fast move timing. This is going to allow us to make the second Icicle Sphere, which is more or less going to knock out Togekiss. I've got no idea why the opponent is staying in, as I could just come into Gyarados, resisted, Dragon Tail farm down if I wanted. However, we can make the Aqua Tail, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. There really is nothing more satisfying than wrecking double charm. In the next battle, Swampert out here losing lead. The opponent's got Waterfall Gary. Please tell me this isn't another double charm team. The opponent hasn't built up to an outrage, so I don't need to respect it. The opponent baits me with an Aqua Tail. Yikes. The opponent then throws another Aqua Tail. I was expecting them to at least build up to the crunch, because we do lose CMP. If I knew the opponent was going to spam out another Aqua Tail, I wouldn't have thrown here, because I've got a 13 attack and I will be losing all CMPs. However, the opponent just lets their Gyarados go down, so my Gyarados flip switch advantage. The opponent sends in Haxorus, we land the crunch, and my god, Dragon Tail gets them deep into the red. Shadow Gary's almost deleted 2 Pokemon. I'm going to wait out my timer, come into Swampert, look to get the Mud Shot farm down. The opponent is going to debuff me with a Breaking Swipe. Swampert gets the Mud Shot farm down. If you're wondering why I come into Swampert, I imagine they've got double dragon in the back, which they do. And if you're wondering how I made that team call, as when I safe switch into a Dragon Tail, Shadow Gary, they had no response, which a good inkling that they're going to be double dragon in the back. The opponent still has 2 shields. I've got no intention of throwing another charge move. I'm just going to shield twice. Powder Snow Farm all the way down. And despite Dragonite having a superior stat product, they're double weak to ice. And we're going to be able to Powder Snow Farm down the remainder of the team. Let's go. In the next battle, we see another Gyarados lead. This one on Dragon Breath, the immediate pivot into Dragon Tail Gary. And again, we're answered with Charm Togekiss. So this is a pretty common line. And it's pretty bad for this team, if I'm honest. However, let's see if we manage to pull off a dub. We get a shield with the Aqua Tail, which is a pretty good place to be in. Gyarados fires off the next Aqua Tail, getting Togekiss into the yellow. This is now easily Hydro Cannon range. So if you're wondering why I'm leading Shadow Swampert, if I keep saying that Gyarados with Togekiss in the back is a pretty common line. Well, if you're going to run this team, you need to run Swampert in the lead, because then you're ABB weak to Magnezone rather than ABA weak. What is going on in today's video? Jamie Finn out here being informative rather than fucking swearing every 2 minutes. I now send out Walrein up 2 shields. I am going to respect the crunch, as I'm calling this triple flyer with Dragonite in the back, with the opponent continuing to stay in. I'm pretty confident that it's Dragonite, so it doesn't really matter if the opponent catches, and it's really hard to pause against a one-turn move. I fire off the Icicle Sphere. Icicle Sphere draws the final shield. I'm going to be forced to shield up this, even if it's an Aqua Tail. Gyarados isn't even in Icicle Sphere range yet. This is one of the drawbacks of Walrein. The 3000 CP and inferior stat product makes it really poor against fast move pressure. I fire off the next one, do I have enough HP to reach the Icicle Sphere? We die with the move. GG's to that opponent. I honestly think if Walrein was 3500 CP, it'd be the top meta threat. It'd be absolutely dominating this meta. However, it isn't, and it is what it is. We see another Gyarados lead. Fuck my life. The opponent then attempts to catch a Crunch onto Excadrill. They don't catch, and this is where you're going to see me make a misplay. I do have the back-to-back here. I should throw back-to-back and force the opponent to make the first shielding decision. Jamie, what the fuck are you doing? I'm now forced to shield first. I either want to take switch or get a shield back, as when shields are down, both Swampert and Walrein are lethal. The opponent does shield, but they are going to win CMPs. The opponent is going to win the one shields in this situation. Mostly thanks to me playing like a fucking potato in the mid-game. However, we can come into Walrein. Powder Snow farm down. Like I said, I did make a misplay, and I hold my hands up. But stay in school, kids. Learn to count. I count to 8, catch the Meteor Mash back onto Swampert. Meteor Mash does a lot of resisted damage as a busted move. The opponent continues to stay in, so I smell an attempted catch coming a mile away. I hold my energy. Full send the Sludge Wave lands. For huge damage, the opponent is now going to be forced to throw a charge move, and this is just game over. I can now come in, Powder Snow farm down, and there's no need to bait. The only win con for the opponent is calling a bait, and we all know I don't bait. Get fucking wrecked. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, Swampert into another Togekiss, or Togepiss as I prefer to say, as it's super annoying, and I just like to swear, as unfortunately I am British and my IQ apparently isn't that high. However, my gameplay IQ is alright at times. I throw at 10, I then throw one more, continuing to throw at good timing. This Hydro Cannon draws a Protect Shield, and if the opponent doesn't throw, we're going to make the next. The opponent smartly throws on the CMP tie. I could shield once to either force the final shield or secure the knockout. However, I think the opponent will probably let it go and then farm me down. So I think a better use is to come into Walrein. I can get a 2 Powder Snow, run and start and keep both shields. We're going to throw the Icicle Sphere, securing the knockout. This absolute Spice Lord has a Chandelure. It takes him 3 Incinerates to reach the Flame Charge. Much like Talonflames, they're using exactly the same moveset we catch back onto Gyarados. If the opponent continues to stay in, we'll be able to throw the Aqua Tail, and the opponent won't be able to catch. That's 9 turns versus 10 turns. Aqua Tail draws the final shield, and the opponent's got Garchomp in the back. Garchomp wins the CMP tie, and I'm just going to save my shields for Walrein. The opponent full sends the Outrage. I come into Walrein, over farm. We're deep in the red, but I think it's going to be a 2 shield flex for the win. Icicle Sphere secures the knockout, back out comes Chandelure, and Walrein gets yet another sweep. GG's, and thanks for playing. Haxorus lead, yikes, we're ABA weak to this thing. I'm going to pivot into Walrein, despite it being an ice type. We're definitely not going to be winning this matchup. The opponent going to throw the breaking swipe, which we do survive, and you're going to see again, I'm going to pause a turn to see if the opponent attempts to catch. They do attempt to catch, sending out Metagross. However, Metagross doesn't have to respect this debuffed Earthquake. It only does about 60%. The opponent then gets the full Bullet Punch farm down. I'm going to send in Swampert as the damage sponge. The opponent can Earthquake me if they want. I really don't care. The opponent actually goes for a Meteor Mash, and it looks like 2 will knock out, so I'm going to be forced to throw the Hydro Cannon. Not allowing myself to overfarm much, I'm spamming out into Gyarados, hoping I can sweep. The opponent continues to stay in. This does look somewhat promising. I'm going to tank the Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe does a lot. However, the opponent's final Pokemon is Togekiss, and we're just not going to be able to get rid of it. A debuffed Aqua Tail does absolutely nothing. The second one will put them into Hydro Cannon range, but Swampert is just too low to handle this thing. There's absolutely no win con whatsoever, so if you're wondering why I'm staying in, firstly, I don't want to get 2 shield flexed on, and I think it's really good 2 turn versus 3 turn to practice your fast move timing. So you're going to see I continue to throw at good time, and the opponent lets it go, hanging on to 2 shields. However, Hydro Cannon will be lethal to Haxorus from this range, so I get some nice practice, and I make sure the opponent doesn't 2 shield flex. GG's. Moving on to the next one. Excadrill in the lead. I am really mindful the opponent might attempt to catch. You're going to see here, I tank the drill run, pause a turn, preventing a catch, and I'm going to return fire with the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon secures the knockout. The opponent completely sacks it. They pivot out into Waterfall Gary. I send out Gyarados, and the opponent's got Togekiss in the back. We're looking in pretty good shape here. These Aqua Tails are going to chip, and Walrein obviously is going to be the key to victory. The opponent tanks the first Aqua Tail. I fire off the second Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail goes unshielded, and we throw on CMP, and this should be game over. I'm just going to let Gyarados go down. I'm going to come into Walrein. After waiting out my timer, Powder Snow farm all the way down. If you're wondering why I'm waiting out my timer, it does give me the chance to catch a move on Swampert if I need to. Back out comes Gary, and again it's going to be 1, 4 and 7 all the way to victory. So if you're a player that hasn't reached Legend yet, I honestly think there's a few things that you can work on to get there. I obviously run a lot of nonsense and only use Shadow Pokemon. However, I am able to rank up, as I always, well, I say always, I do sometimes throw like a potato, but I pretty consistently throw at good timing, like you can see in this example. I always maximise my energy, so if I know my Pokemon is going to lose CMP, I always farm up one before the opponent gets to the next charge room, and these are the sort of things which enable me to win a lot of close games. Moving on to the next one. Swampert into Metagross, the opponent safe switches into Gyarados, and this isn't great, as I really don't want Walrein onto Metagross, so I am going to shield the first crunch. The opponent doesn't get the debuff, I return fire with my own crunch, really hoping to get a debuff of my own. The opponent lets it go. This is going to now allow me to Dragon Tail farm all the way down. Then when Metagross does return, as I'm now using the free turn move, you just want to throw out odd numbers, you can throw 1, 3, 5, etc. The opponent shields the first crunch, so I'm just going to throw the Aqua Tail to put this thing into Hydro Cannon range. The opponent actually double shields. It wasn't even at the crunch. Apparently this opponent wasn't counting. We still make another Aqua Tail. So we get this Metagross into Hydro Cannon range like we wanted, and we've got shield advantage. I send out Swampert. The opponent can Earthquake, which will near one-shot me, but the opponent goes for the bait. They then switch out into Haxorus. Throwing this Hydro Cannon, super important, as even if Walrein wasn't debuffed, like we're about to get here, one Icicle Sphere does not knock out from full health, so that chip damage is going to be really valuable. I don't need to shield up the Breaking Swipe. They're now in a range where even a debuffed Icicle Sphere with the Hydro Cannon chip damage secures the knockout. Back out comes Metagross. They're getting so low. So I'm just going to throw the Icicle Sphere. This is resisted, but Metagross is not going to be able to Bullet Punch, farm us down, and that is a good game. Moving on to the next one. Dreadful lead, as always, the pivot into our Dragon Tail Gary, and again we see Togekiss. You absolutely hate to see it. I am going to throw 7. The opponent now at the Ancient Power, so I'm going to fire off back to back, hoping the opponent falls for CMP. The opponent sneaks a Charm. They're smarter than I gave them credit for. Charm users, not really the cleverest, however this opponent did play that game pretty well. They get the full Charm down, farm down. I will be returning with Swampert. Again, we're not going to shield anything. We know it's probably Gary in the back. Walrein going to have to put in a whole heap of work. The opponent sends the Flamethrower. An easy tank for Swampert, so I take this opportunity to farm up a boatload of energy, fire off the Hydro Cannon, and we're going to see the instant pivot. Of course, they've got Waterfall Gary, because why not run the most basic BBML team imaginable? We've still got 2 shields remaining. Walrein at 3050 CP, going to attempt to sweep. As always, 1, 4 and 7 all the way. We fire off the first Icicle Sphere. Gyarados lets it go. It's advantageous that they're on Waterfall. This gives me a chance. I am going to shield up the next move from Gary. Of course, they're probably going to bait me, but look how low I am. I've got no choice but to shield. Again, I'm going to throw 4 more. Throw the Icicle Sphere. The opponent's now 1 away from the next charge move. The opponent lets it go. Back out comes Dragonite, and this is where I miscount. I believe they're now at 6 Dragon Breaths, so they're 6 away from the move. So I intend to throw 3 and catch, and my counting has let me down. Yikes. We're now going to need Swampert to knock this thing out with a Sludge Wave. Swampert is the GOAT, but Dragonite, an absolute beast at over 4000 CP. Sludge Wave just doesn't cut it, and we're going to lose a close game. Moving on to the next one. Swampert into Metagross, the opponent safe switches into Haxorus, and of course we answer with Dragon Tail Gary. The opponent fires off the Breaking Swipe. We're then going to throw 3, fire off the Crunch. Again, for optimal fast move timing, Crunch will either knock out or force the final shield. The opponent chooses to shield. I am going to shield in return, as I really don't want Walrein aligned with Metagross. The opponent is going to get farmed all the way down. However, likewise, Metagross is going to be able to farm me down in return, and I'm double debuffed. Crunch does hit for super effective. However, 2-stage debuffed, even from a shadow, it's just going to tickle. The opponent is going to farm me all the way down, and I'm forced to stay in, because I don't want to pivot back out into Swampert, because then Walrein will be alive in the end game. We land the Aqua Tail. Swampert can tank any one move. Earthquake will absolutely rock me. The opponent goes for the bait. They then pivot out into Dragonite, and oh hello trainer. Walrein out here looking for redemption. I'm going to show no respect. The opponent fires off the Dragon Claw, and Walrein said, Jamie Finn might have let me down in the last battle with his potato counting, however his huge cojones are going to come in clutch. We land the Icicle Sphere, KO in the Dragonite, and this Icicle Sphere is going to get Metagross super low. The opponent still hanging on to one shield, however one mud shot would take him out, and that would be all she wrote. So those were the battles with Triple Shadow, Triple Water. I think this is a really good team, a really cheap team to be honest, as both Gary and Swampert are only 10k or 12k if you want to use the Shadow variants for the second charge move. Even in matchups where we're pretty hard countered against a triple flying team, where Swampert pretty much had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It did have win cons, especially if my counting was somewhat better than it has been today. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, link to a battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.